Republicans, if you don't get that when you call Puerto Rico garbage, that you're going to turn off all Puerto Rican voters.
No, but they do get it. That's why they're distancing themselves from the comedian.
No. The politicians get it, and we're about to show you their reactions, right? But for a lot of MAGA guys online, they're like super mad about people getting upset. They're like, it's just a comic, so it's no big deal. No, it's no big deal to you. But if you're Puerto Rican and they call your island a piece of trash, you're not going to be happy about it. And the fact that you can't, like, if you can't understand that and how damaging that is, you're just not understanding politics because you think everybody thinks like you, but they don't.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right, okay, we're getting there. Now, again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
Welcome back, everyone. In this one, we're going to be diving into TYT's heated response to comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's recent Trump rally performance, where he doesn't hold back with his edgy, arguably offensive jokes. TYT team is outraged and they're not pulling any punches. It's going to be an exciting clip, so let's get into it.
The Trump campaign is attempting to distance itself from the comedian you just heard from, Tony Hinchcliffe, who is also known as Kill Tony, for his offensive and racist jokes during a rally in Madison Square Garden over the weekend.
Look, it's super important to note that the audience groaned, and they groaned so much that he made note of it over and over again. They did not enjoy the set. So do not say that everybody who went to that rally, agrees with this guy and thinks along the same ways. And I get it, he's a comic. Terrible so-called comedy. That was not a joke. That was just, isn't it funny to make fun of Puerto Ricans? Or just to insult Puerto Ricans. Where's the punchline? Is the punchline that they're dirty? Is that because garbage? Where's the punchline? So don't give me this garbage about, at one point there was some garbage bill in Puerto Rico, as if he knew that and he's following Puerto Rican politics and he was making a super obscure joke about that. No, it was a very blunt instrument joke. It was dumb. But guys, whether you think it's fair or not fair, the stench of that joke and the other things that were said in that rally are going to stick to the Republicans.
Here, TYT isn't just attacking the joke. They're painting it as a stain on the entire GOP. And this is classic TYT, acting like every misstep by a conservative figure reflects the whole party's true colors. And the reality is, they're just weaponizing outrage here, twisting an isolated joke into an indictment of Trump and his supporters. But isn't that the exact kind of guilt by association logic they complain about when it's used on them?
Just like I told you, the McDonald's stunt that he did was a really good PR move, even though there was no substance behind it. He's against higher wages for McDonald's workers, he's against regulations that protect those workers, etc. But it was a good PR stunt and worked really well for him. This is the exact opposite. The audience might have grown, it might be a comic, but it's going to be terrible for the Trump campaign.
Hinchcliffe is irritated by the backlash he's getting. He thinks that people are humorless. In fact, he was pretty irritated with the audience at this rally. So let's take a look at more.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too, just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. It's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that, a lampshade? Look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm just kidding, that's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun, we carved watermelons together. It was awesome. You guys are, this is a groany little morning crowd, huh? It's tough to follow this audition for the next Commissioner Gordon's over here.
So it's really interesting because, the Trump campaign alleges that his set wasn't vetted ahead of time. That's probably true, but I mean, someone loaded, if those jokes were on a teleprompter, someone loaded on a teleprompter, unclear if they did.
This is TYT grasping for a deeper conspiracy, suggesting someone intentionally greenlit these jokes to damage Trump's image. But isn't it more likely that no one in the campaign cared to vet a comedian's set in the first place? TYT's obsession with finding fault here makes it look like they're searching for controversy, as if a rogue teleprompter operator is responsible for Hinchcliffe's punchlines. It's over the top and just shows how eager TYT is to pin every issue, no matter how trivial, on the GOP.
But the other thing that I'll just mention is it's interesting because there are two different campaigns here in this election, obviously. And they have two different approaches that I think are bad when it comes to vetting speeches and performers. So on the Republican end, you have the Trump campaign not doing its due diligence and not ensuring that the comedian has a set that's going to anger even Trump supporters. But then on the Democratic side, you'll have a literal Democratic surrogate who wants to give a quick 5 to 10 minute speech at the convention. Listen, if you're a Democratic voter and you are drinking the Democratic Party's Kool-Aid on how offended you should be about this comedian, I hear you. I found his jokes pretty gross and offensive. And I'm actually happy that the Trump campaign is distancing themselves because usually they don't do that.
Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So for instance, Danielle Alvarez, a senior campaign advisor, told the Washington Post point blank, this joke does not reflect the views of President Trump or the campaign. As I mentioned earlier, Peter Navarro is like trashing the comedian and everything. But look, put that aside. I want to just quickly talk about the difference between rhetoric, which may be gross, which might direct hatred toward a group of people, and actions, which honestly lead to more devastation for Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico than anything else. We still have this antiquated 1920s law called the Jones Act, which basically forces Puerto Rico to only accept imports. Because remember, Puerto Rico is considered part of the United States. And the Jones Act states that, any products that are going from one American port to another needs to be shipped by a US ship, a US owned and made ship with a US crew. And look, this law came about after World War I, and it had a lot to do with national security, right? Because you want to make sure things are going from one American port to another, it's secure and you don't want a ship that was built by a potential adversary, that kind of thing. But what it's led to with Puerto Rico is inflated costs for energy. It actually complicated the hurricane relief efforts. Now, the Biden administration did a quick one-time waiver for Puerto Rico in order to help them recover from Hurricane Maria. But let's keep it real. Let's actually have a conversation about how both parties, Democrats and Republicans, refuse to reform that law, which is totally battering Puerto Rico as we speak.
Republicans, if you don't get that when you call Puerto Rico garbage, that you're going to turn off all Puerto Rican voters.
TYT wraps this up by warning Republicans they're alienating Puerto Ricans, but they're missing a key point. Hinchcliffe isn't an official spokesperson. He's just a comedian. And TYT wants this to be a political disaster, blowing it way out of proportion to fit their narrative. And that's kind of the reaction only shows you how desperate they are to frame every joke as a full-blown crisis for the GOP.
No, but they do get it. That's why they're distancing themselves from the comedian.
No. The politicians get it, and we're about to show you their reactions, right? But for a lot of MAGA guys online, they're like super mad about people getting upset. They're like, it's just a comic, so it's no big deal. No, it's no big deal to you. But if you're Puerto Rican and they call your island a piece of trash, you're not gonna be happy about it. And the fact that you can't, if you can't understand that and how damaging that is, you're just not understanding politics because you think everybody thinks like you, but they.
I completely disagree with that. I mean, how can you say that everyone thinks like us when we're all individual people with our own opinions? It's kind of a stupid analogy, if you will. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with a lot of the points that were made within this video. If you could, give us a like and subscribe. Really helps out the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.